When Pitch Black launches on July 16th in Pokemon TCG Live, it will have just 84 new cards, meaning a top 10 list represents more than 10% of the set. While they haven't explicitly acknowledged this, it appears as though the reason 2026 has been a half year is due to a delay of Winds and Waves to 2027. Typically, the Pokemon franchise was on a 3-year clock, making things easy for the TCG designers. With Scarlet and Violet releasing back in 2022, though, that's now been up to 5 years, yet they clearly only planned for the Mega Evolution era to last for a year. But Legends ZA slipping 6 months last year also screwed up their schedule, which is likely why we randomly received Trainers Pokemon for a couple sets, with many of them appearing half-baked like an All-Creamy after getting hit with a flamethrower. Anyway, with that boring, possibly fictional history lesson out of the way, let me count up the top 10 cards you'll find in Pitch Black, which is arguably the best set of 2026. Though that's like saying Spiritomb is your favorite Ghost and Dark type. Obviously, in first place, we have the card almost solely responsible for diminishing Dragapult's dominance in Standard. For a single Psychic, Dhelmise does 30 base damage, which is enough to one-shot a Badoo. But if you have at least 4 Hide and Sneakers in the discard pile, that's up to 170. Considering there's 4 different Pokemon with the Hide and Sneak ability for a total of 16, getting 4 is easy. Between Gwyn, Prism Tower, and Ultra Ball, activating Vengeful Anchor's extra damage should be doable turn 1 going second, allowing you to one-shot something like Meowth EX. I definitely won't blame you for going first though. Just remember that Badoo won't let you play with your balls, so it's always a bit of a risk if you have a rough opening hand. While your knee-jerk reaction when seeing toes is to fondle them, Brilliant Blender is not the best ace-spec to pair with Dhelmise. Sure, 4 Transceiver and 4 Petrol all but guarantee a turn 1 Blender and 5 Sneakers in the bin. But what if the power's out and you can't make a smoothie in your blender? Exactly, instead of changing the list around to focus on one card that might be prized, just go with those discard cards plus Legacy Energy. This way you effectively force them to take 7 knockouts to win the game. There's really only 2 weaknesses to Dhelmise, and I'm not talking about Darkness. First, it needs Lily's Clefairy to one-shot Dragapult. An experienced Dragapult player knows how to do math and can manufacture a win even if you play perfectly. But keep Clefairy a secret until it's time to beat off the dragon and you should be fine. Additionally, while 170 is enough to 2-shot most things, 210 is the magic number. For Teal Mask Ogerpon, a lot of people will include Moltres, which is fine since Prism Energy works for both. Alternatively, you can edge a few Ogerpon, then Matcha Spin to clean them up at the end of the game. Yes, in second place isn't a card, but an entire archetype. If Dhelmise is the best thing coming in Pitch Black, then all those Hide and Sneakers have to be right behind. Shuppet, Banette, Poltergeist, and Sinistcha all feature the ability, which makes them immune to effective attacks and abilities from your opponent's Pokemon. Essentially, they're protected against the 6 damage counters from Dragapult's Phantom Dive, Dusclops and Dusknoir's Curse Blast, Munkidori's Adrenabrain, and Frostlass's Freezing Shroud. There's plenty of other examples, but these are the big ones. Hide and Sneak also provides the greatest obstacle ever for Alakazam. Yeah, you just kinda auto-win that matchup. Not only does Dhelmise one-shot everybody in that deck as early as turn 1, which is a problem in and of itself, like Voldemort with an 11-year-old boy, Alakazam can't touch it. Powerful Hand is an effective in attack, so just get a Sneaker in the active and you win. Which probably explains why Toucannon is becoming a partner for Mr. Spoony in Japan lately. While the Sneakers are mostly used as fodder for Dhelmise, this Banette sitting in the attic and sniffing its fingers after putting them inside a Bonsai's butthole does have some usage. Let's say you start a Shuppet. Well, turn 2 you can evolve into Banette, deal 80 for the same Psychic you use for Dhelmise, and get any card from deck. So not only do you KO a Badoo or Dreepy or Cloak if Clefairy's in play, you can also grab a Gwyn or Lily's or Prism Tower for next turn. Unfortunately, the Sinistcha probably isn't going to do as much. The good news is that it will help Dhelmise KO things with 210 hit points. The bad news is that 4 damage counters per turn is a little slow to focus your whole strategy on. Though if you're facing a Festival lead deck that 4 went Rabsca, this is how you win. Regardless, you won't be living the dream too much with Spiritomb. Needing to basically put all 16 Sneakers in your list is too much space being taken up, but it doesn't really matter. All 4 of these guys help anchor one of the best new decks we've seen in a long time. Oh, and Gwyn kinda belongs in this category as well. I watched a few players in Japan whack off with Alakazam and Sacred Ash, and a few beat off with Thwackey, but her effective discarding single prize Pokemon to draw cards is almost solely reserved for Hide and Sneak. If you go by Japanese tournament results, the second best new Pitch Black deck is going to be Mega Excadrill EX. Unfortunately, Dragapult is often paired with Blaziken, who one-shots you. Despite that, I'm choosing to believe the hype even if Excadrill has slipped dramatically since bursting onto the scene. Mega Excadrill isn't too dissimilar to the Metagross from Chaos Rising that people still argue about when it comes to its usage in Slowking. But in an actual metal deck, it's an awesome way to deal 300 damage using the Metang to accelerate energy. Excadrill follows suit. While it only does 200 damage if there's 3 metal attached, which I'd classify as a minimum drilling, get 5 on this guy and that's up to 330. So you go from coming up short on Ogerpon and Pheasantipede to one-shotting Dragapult. Though if you do need a little extra damage, both Kieran and Black Belt's training help. One of the downsides for Megas in this day and age is their horrible matchup against things like Festival Lead and Slowking. While I won't stand here barefoot, toes covered in syrup and lie to you, it at least has a chance against single prizers. Not only is Metagross your awesome backup attacker, Undermine does discard the top 2 cards of their deck, so you can potentially hit Slowking's Night Stretchers or Diplin Stadiums. You also can't ignore the survivability of Excadrill. 340 hit points and a grass resistance is pretty good. Add in a couple Jumbo Ice Creams, suddenly you might turn a 2-shot into a 3-shot. And if you're really paranoid that I installed a camera in your room just to stare at your feet, you can always throw in a copy of Heavy Baton, which preserves 3 metal on KO. Plus, if you can't pull out the turn 1 Petrol for trolley play, Drillbur's Call for Family can potentially save your setup. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if Mega Excadrill ends up disappointing us, but so long as Dragapult players don't watch this video and increase their Blaziken usage, it definitely has a chance to join Hide and Sneak as a top deck. I know Fossil Quarry in 4th place might seem higher than Hisuian Typhlosion, but this new stadium, the only one in Pitch Black, improves literally every fossil Pokemon. Think of it like a Buddy Poffin for fossils. Activate the stadium, any 2 fossils in deck can be placed directly on your bench. So you completely bypass the biggest issue with this archetype, which was Badoo preventing you from putting the fossils into play. There's 7 total fossils in Standard right now, each with an ability. Some are definitely better than others, like Plume Fossil preventing all bench damage, while Armor Fossil only reduces their actives damage by 10. But what you care about are the Pokemon themselves. There's actually more than 7 viable fossil Pokemon in Standard due to the whole Stage 1 and Stage 2 thing. I'll talk about the best new one a little later, but for now, all these become much more playable. Tiertuga can be used in tandem with somebody like Mega Frostlass to punish those who get rid of items to lower their hand size. Cradilly is something that only really works in big numbers, so being able to fill up your bench with root fossils is huge. And Aurorus suddenly becomes an easier one-of in decks like Kangaskhan for more damage reduction. Rampardos can be kind of annoying with its ability to act against a Crushing Hammer for their active, though it will struggle in a grass world. Tyrantrum can be included in fighting decks as a beefy body that soaks up a hit, then retaliates for huge damage, copying the Tyrant underneath. And Arceus leapfrogs Claydol and Espeon EX as our best way to devolve your opponent's Pokemon, though it does have to be in the active. Regardless, Fossil Quarry is going to ensure every fossil Pokemon is playable for the next several years. Well, except Tiertuga and Caracosta. Because unless they reprint Cover Fossil, which is from the H-block, the I-block versions of these Pokemon will be unusable. Oh, and be careful using Colress instead of Petrol to find Fossil Quarry. Some idiot YouTuber recently made a video about putting Kyurem into random decks for just such an occasion. I thought I'd throw you for a loop with Toucannon at number 5. Ever since this card was first revealed, I had high hopes, but even I couldn't have predicted just how strong it would end up being. It seems like no 2 Toucannon lists are the same. Because its ability draws a card and its attack works for a single colorless energy, dealing up to 260 damage if both sides of the field are full, you can pair it with pretty much anybody. Want an Area 0 build with Teal Masked Ogerpon so Toucan Sam can one-shot Dragapult if everything goes right? Go for it! Or how about pairing it with Lunatone and Solrock for an ever-ending card draw? Nothing stopping ya! And if you're worried about Toucannon's potentially low damage output, soften things up with Arboliva. Alternatively, Brave Bangle plus Gravity Mountain puts Dragapult in range, with Moltres a great backup attacker to one-shot Teal Masked Ogerpon. Don't want to jump through all those hoopas? Run it with Lily's Clefairy and cover your bases. Or a pairing with Alakazam means you can ditch to Dunsparce and still get screwed over by Watchtower. Basically, Toucannon is more flexible than my dog trying to bite his own tail. Whatever combo you can think of, it works. And even on its own, the damn thing is a threat, dealing more damage than most Megas if you both have full benches. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, this card's going to be a lot more impactful than I think anyone initially expected. For synergy's sake, I probably should have included Bastiodon at number 5, but a part of me, the sexiest one, isn't super excited to get bulwarked. If Bastiodon's on the bench, your opponent's active needs at least 3 energy attached to deal damage. The biggest counter argument to Bastiodon being good is that you can just boss it up removing the ability. You're right, which is why you always want 2 Bastiodon in play. From there, control their energy, never letting them get above 2. Or beat them off so fast they don't have time to react. Looking at some of the top decks, Dragapult, Dhelmise, and Zoroark and Garchomp attack for 2 or fewer energy, giving Bastiodon a huge advantage. Unfortunately, Excadrill gets a ton of energy into play. Alakazam doesn't care since Bastiodon only blocks damage and non-effective attacks, and every grass deck can easily reach 3 energy thanks to Meganium. So it's all about the partner. Something worrying that recently popped up in Japan is Iron Thorns EX. You're always guaranteed to start the Electric Tyranitar, meaning they'll never be able to use the abilities of Meowth or Latias or Ogerpon at the start of a game. Throw in Crushing Hammer and Handy Fan, they might be unable to get anything going. Alternatively, both Gengar EX and Elegium move their energy around, keeping them on their toes. Kangaskhan, meanwhile, is super fast and can hit really hard, with Mega Absol able to discard any card from their hand turn after turn. Personally, I hope the hype I'm heaping on Bastiodon is overblown like a Blacephalon's head, but I also know this is exactly the kind of card control players have been waiting for ever since Snorlax rotated. Part of the reason why Mega Chandelure's in 7th is because of Lampent, and the other part is Latias EX. Because one of these things is bad while the other is good. Anyway, before I get to the stats of Chandelure, Lampent has a water duplicates attack that boomers who were around during the Greninja break days will remember. Go first, evolve your Litwick into Lampent on turn 2, and by the end of that second turn, you could have 4 Lampent in play. You won't because PTCGL hates you and will prize at least 1, but it's still possible. Additionally, Litwick and Lampent can evolve into the Fire Chandelure that draws both players a card and deals damage based on how many cards are in their feet. Sure, it's off type, but games could take a bit longer due to the Mega. Have Daddy Chandelure in play, their active Pokemon's retreat cost is increased by 1 pip and it stacks. This is important because Phantom Maze only does 130 base damage for 2 Psychic. While it's unfortunate that a lot of Pokemon these days have retreat costs lower than Chansey's attack stat, 1 Chandelure is enough to KO a Teal Masked Ogerpon as 1 + 1 = 2. Excadrill, meanwhile, already has a 4 retreat cost. Add in the extra 1 from a single Chandelure, that's 5 total, boosting Phantom Maze to 380. And what about Dragapult? Even without Lily's Clefairy, you only need 3 Mega Chandelure in play to take a one-shot, which, now that I'm saying it out loud, seems like a lot. Of course, what's holding Mega Chandelure back from being higher on this list is Latias EX. It doesn't matter how many Chandelure are in play. Every basic on their side of the field will have a 0 retreat cost if it's down. This is one of the reasons why Baby Chandelure is so important for the Mega's success, giving you a way to deal with all those pesky basics. Thankfully, Latias will rotate in March. And when it does, Telepathic Energy, Wonders Patch, and Mystery Garden will all still be legal, making Chandelure a real threat next year. So for its decent strength today and potential perspective power in the future, I'm placing it in 7th. While Festival Lead doesn't have to rely on Gladion to win battles decisively, at least in Japan, this card has helped turn it into a massive threat. Much stronger than Kieran and Black Belt's training, who only offer up a 30 or 40 damage boost, Gladion's Decisive Battle is +80. The downside is that it has to be the last card in your hand. Using Thwacky and items properly though, getting down to 1 card in hand is fairly easy. And so long as you have another festival leader like Goldeen or Seeking or Dipplin in play, you're not punished next turn either, with Thwacky getting you whatever you want. Though with Dipplin potentially dealing 210 damage twice per turn, you could end up with 4 prize cards pretty easily. Yeah, in case you forgot, Dipplin also has access to Brave Bangle. With a full bench, Gladion and Brave Bangle, that's 210 damage back to back, meaning 2 Ogerpon or a Meowth and a Clefairy or a Latias and a Pheasantipede can get knocked out. Best of all, Festival Lead decks can now cut Maxima Belt as the ace spec and run Secret Box, increasing overall consistency. But who cares about reality? Think of Dipplin post-pitch black this way. If you go first against Dragapult, there's a chance you can KO a Meowth and a Pheasantipede before they even have a chancey to get a Dracloak into play. And if that doesn't create a battle in your pants, I don't know what will. Mega Magnetric is one of my favorite cards, which is why it's so disappointing to see how much the Pokemon Company has botched lightning types this year. But help is on the way. Not only is Mew EX coming in 30th Celebration this September, effectively giving every deck a way to one-shot Mega Lucario through weakness, but both Voltaic Lightning Energy and a new Baby Magnetric arrive in Pitch Black. Voltaic Energy isn't going to dethrone Telepathic as the best type-specific special energy, but it's still good, boosting lightning damage by 20 and it stacks. This is huge for Mega Magnetric. Previously, Riotous Blasting would come up short of a KO on anything with 210 hit points like Ogerpon and Fez and Latias. Now that's no longer a problem. Plus, that 20 damage boost puts Mega Lucario in range if you discard all the energy. Though, with access to electric for energy acceleration, a 1 of Mew EX for that matchup come September is almost assured. Then there's the baby Magnetric. Where the Mega can make itself immune to basics, this guy walls evolutions. Let me be Pokemon crystal clear. Voltaic is in the 9th spot. Baby Magnetric is just the bonus, like when they have a 6th toe. Because blocking evolution damage isn't going to do as much as you think it is. The Mega already deals with Dragapult, and someone like Zoroark can copy Zekrom Shred. This is mostly just for Festival lead, which you should expect to see more of. Something else Voltaic does is make Iron Thorn slightly stronger. Now it can 2-shot a Dragapult EX, though they will always have Munkidori and your efforts are futile. Or if you're feeling spicy, you don't have to lightly play with Pikachu EX's balls to 1-shot a Dragapult. And even Mega Electros can benefit from a 20 damage bump, KOing their active 70 hit pointer with Split Bomb. Or even knock out a Fez or Latias with Disaster Shock, keeping the energy safe. While we're definitely not back to the heights of Electric Generator and Miraidon and Iron Hands, Lightning is slowly becoming relevant again. We've needed a coin reflip card ever since Limwood Tangle rotated a few years ago. Backtrack Badge isn't exactly what I had in mind, but you'd be surprised how many colorless Pokemon can benefit from being able to flip coins again. Keeping in mind that it only works for attacks, not abilities like Chinchino EX, the 3 Pokemon who first come to mind are Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Audino, and Lugia EX. A single heads flip from Kangaskhan means it's KOing Ogerpon, Raging Bolt, Fezandipity, Latias, and much more. With Backtrack Badge, Audino suddenly becomes a more consistent way to accelerate energy. I still wouldn't recommend a normal, well-adjusted person throw it into multiple decks, but you can make damn sure I will. And paired with Bastiodon, Lugia EX being able to almost guaranteedly discard at least 1 energy per turn is going to suck to play against. Backtrack Badge also breathes new life into Larry's to Dunsparce, but it pales in comparison to Unpheasant, who is somehow succeeding in Japan. Utilizing the Pidove that lies to you more than Mistress Paddlebottom when I asked her to put on a British accent like For the Winds, you can put Risky Ruins down, forego Rare Candy, and have an Unpheasant turn 1 going second. That doesn't fix the whole needing 2 energy thing, but we'll ignore that. Because if you flip heads with Unpheasant, it's immune to damage and effects of attacks. So they have to boss around your untouchable Unpheasant, hopefully running out of resources, opening up a gaping hole for you to penetrate. To be fair, I'm probably not giving Backtrack Badge enough credit. I mean, the damn thing has the potential to take Mega Kangaskhan to brand new heights. Still, it's featured in a Trust Your Pilot video, and that's the greatest honor anyone can be bestowed. Unlike the past couple of Mega Evolution sets, I actually had to leave out a few new Pitch Black cards from the top 10. You'll hear more about them in my full Pitch Black setlist video, which should be up in a few days. For now, looking at the top 10 cards, it's a solid list. I wouldn't be surprised if Excadrill and Bastiodon fall, while Toucannon rises like chaos in my pants every time I see a Vaporeon. But at the very least, I'm excited for a new 2026 set, and that's a win on its own.